Hello, thanks for joining me today on my channel, and this is my little dividend experiment, and this is on the channel discovering my dividends. Yeah, not overly original, but hey, I'm finally getting into this. I'm almost 3 weeks into this kind of little experiment of mine, and this is my second week of doing videos. So what I wanted to do was kind of share with you a new stock which I'm grabbing onto today, and I feel like it's on that kind of area where it's going to turn around and, well, yeah, it's going to take off. Now, essentially, it doesn't necessarily look that good, but I feel confident in making this choice. Now, I may see it drop again, so I may buy in a second time, but at this point, I feel like it's right for the picking. But before we get to that, I just want to go over where I'm kind of my positives and negatives are going. So Canadian National Railway's done a little bit of a turnaround. I've got 2% gain right now. I've only held that for 19 days. 60 days is kind of my win-loss kind of timeline. So if I get to my point by 60 days, I'm pretty happy. With that being said, Parex Resources, if you remember, sometime last week, it made a drop after I made the original purchase. Well, instead of being 31% down, I'm only 21% down on that original buy. But, of course, because it's rebounded, my second buy is up 14%. So I'm not quite breaking even with the two of them, but it is kind of doing that little bit of a bounce that I was hoping for, and voila, it's kind of doing okay. All right, so Alimentation Couche-Tard is at -4, and kind of everything else is kind of floating between -1 and 1. So not a lot of movement yet, but none of my stocks have passed that 60-day marker. So that's all okay. Now for today's pick, I went with NPI, Northlands Power Inc. And the reason I went for it is it's kind of nearing or reaching its regular lows, what it's had in the last year. And I feel like it's kind of maybe turning a corner, but maybe not. There's some news out there that's kind of negative. I popped it into Graham's revised valuation formula, and of course, the intrinsic value is actually negative. So yeah, it's not really looking good there. And I don't really rely on the revised formulation, but you know, it's neither here nor there. Now, if I go back and I use Yahoo for my screener. I didn't pick this from the screener. I picked this basically on a percentage drop. So the formula says to sell, and well, it's kind of a mixed bag if I'm looking at what's going on with the Yahoo analysts. They're kind of saying that it's kind of a buy, but it's kind of a mix between sell and strong buy. So they're kind of all over the place, but the current price is actually well below what the kind of average or the scope of what they believe the low and the high is. So it's kind of bounced below that now. And so I feel like that is kind of a signal. When analysts start saying that the lowest price that they think it should be is higher than what the actual price is, somewhere in there the perceived value is higher. So therefore there might be some turnaround just because of market sentiment. With that being said, based on what my parameters are, though, it definitely reaches my parameters. It's got that 20% drop and, well, more than that. And I feel like I'm in the right place to get that gain that I want, which is 20% minimum, right? So I do want either 20% or I want 30% or I want 50%. And, well, I shouldn't say I want all of them, but I want to definitely hit 20%. So, Northland Power Inc. NPI. Now, just remember, I'm not an advisor, so this is not advice. This is part of my experiment. I'm kind of choosing stocks through two different means. One through my stock screener, which I set up based on the parameters I want for stocks I think have higher future value, and of course the percentage drop, which I've kind of gone through a whole system of deriving how I picked that. Now, I broke the rule a little bit where I picked a stock that didn't quite go 20% last week. But generally, I like to see at least a 20% drop. Therefore, I feel like I can have that room to get some return. I also am looking for stocks that I feel like have a higher cap or a higher limit based on previous pricing. than what I actually need to achieve. So my 20% minimum, I feel like they should be able to at least do 25 to 30 based on previous prices. So when a stock's fluctuating, that's kind of what I'm hoping for, is I have a little bit of room for some extra success. And then of course, if it goes beyond that, that's just kind of icing on the cake, right? So that's kind of my whole experiment. Now, if I go back to kind of my overall picks so far, what am I sitting at, about 14 picks, and essentially all of my picks I'm doing a bare minimum of purchasing, because it is an experiment, like I said. So I'm just kind of dabbling in that. In the future here, and not too distant future, hopefully, I'm going to start maybe upping the ante a little bit, and then I'll start sharing with you how the portfolio is growing and where it's at. So we'll kind of get into that at another time, or I might just start a whole different account and we'll start from scratch. But for right now, 100% experiment, and I feel like, yeah, not really off to a bad start, but there is definitely some timelines that are approaching that, you know, I definitely I'm getting worried about. But that's it. That's my stock pick of today. So Northland Power, I'm not an advisor. Make sure you do your own investigation to make sure it's right for your portfolio, or talk to an advisor if you're going to follow along and participate in this. And yeah, leave your comments below. Let me know what you think of Northland Power or some of my other picks, and what you think they're going to do in the hopefully not too distant future, but in that kind of 30 to 60 day timeline. All right, we'll see you next time. Have a great day.